Working the night shift as a nurse at Clearview Hospital is dreadful. The fluorescent lights cast everything in a sickly pale glow. The constant beep of monitors and hush of oxygen masks haunt the halls. But nothing compares to the unease of the East Wing hallway. Room 302 to be exact. That's the room where Old Man Jenkins died unexpectedly a week ago. Since then, strange things have been happening. It started with small objects going missing. A spoon here, a pillow there. Then the call light started mysteriously turning on in empty rooms. Nurses have reported seeing shadows dart just out of sight and hearing faint cries for help. And room 302 remains inexplicably frigid, regardless of the thermostat setting. When I arrived for my shift that night, Molly the night nurse warned me, "Whatever you do, avoid the East Wing, especially room 302. I chuckled nervously, thinking she was just trying to scare the new nurse. But the joking ceased when I made my rounds. As I neared the East Wing, the lights began to flicker. I stopped, peering down the long hallway lined with rooms. It was deathly quiet. Too quiet. My heart pounded as I cautiously proceeded. I paused outside room 302, staring at the door. It looked normal. Taking a deep breath, I turned the handle and stepped inside. The bitter cold hit me instantly, the icy air burning my lungs. I could see my breath form wispy clouds. The room felt heavy, oppressive, like some sinister presence was lurking, watching my every move. The bed linens were tangled, the floor littered with broken glass that crunched under my feet. On the wall, "Get out," was smeared in something dark red. Blood? A bone-chilling breeze swept through, flipping the pages of the chart wildly. Then the door slammed shut behind me, enveloping me in blackness. I gasped, fumbling for the light switch. Suddenly the monitor flashed on, cascading the room in a green glow. A shape lay unmoving in the bed, body obscured by the pulled-up sheets. Heart hammering, I crept closer, just a bundled pile of pillows. But as I stared, the shape shifted. Moaning sounds emanated from deep within the covers. I spun to run but froze. A wheelchair sat in the corner that wasn't there before. Its leather straps swayed gently as if someone had just climbed out. Gulping down terror, I rushed to the door. It wouldn't budge, locked from the outside somehow. Pounding and pleading for help, I peered through the narrow glass panel. A nurse strode by slowly. I banged harder, but she didn't even glance over. It was as if she couldn't hear me at all. Retreating from the door, I turned back to the room. The shape in the bed was sitting up now, sheet draped over its head. Rocking slowly back and forth, an unearthly wail pierced the air. As I watched in horror, a decaying hand slid out from under the sheet, flesh withered and gray, bone exposed. It grasped at the air, beckoning, summoning me. I ran to the corner, hysterical, hyperventilating. As I huddled there, the overhead lights flickered and finally illuminated the room in a harsh glare. The thing in the bed was gone. Trying to calm my fraying nerves, I became aware of a new sound, the steady plop of liquid hitting the floor. I looked down to see blood pooling around my shoes, dripping from the mattress above. The crimson stain spread across the tiles. Fleeing the blood, I hurtled into the bathroom and locked the door. As I cowered there, violent crashes came from the room, glass shattering, furniture toppling. The bathroom doorknob rattled forcefully. Then it stopped. The room beyond falling silent again. Had it left? Gathering my courage, I slowly unlocked the bathroom door. Stepping out, I was stunned to find the room was back to normal. Bed neatly made, floor sparkling clean. Edging toward the hallway door, I nearly slipped on something. Jenkins' patient chart lay open on the floor. As I went to pick it up, my blood turned to ice. Scrawled in red were the words, "You're next." At that moment, the hallway door creaked open. I sprang through it, not looking back. I raced down that long corridor and never returned to the East Wing again. Now I only work days, because whatever sinister presence dwells in room 302, it only comes out at night. The incessant beeping of the heart monitor did little to ease my pounding headache. I had been drifting in and out of feverish dreams for days in this hospital bed. But today was different. Today the pain was blinding, consuming. I weakly pressed the call button over and over, but no one came. Where were the nurses? They usually rushed in at the slightest complaint from me. Through the haze of agony, I heard the creak of footsteps out in the hall. "Hello?" I croaked. "I need help." The footsteps slowly approached my doorway, but no one appeared. A chill crept down my aching body. I lived for the nurses' visits, confined as I was to this bed. Who was out there? "Is someone there?" I called again, a quiver in my voice. I tried to prop myself up to peer out the door, but a wave of nausea pinned me back down. The footsteps halted just outside my room. I could sense a presence lurking beyond the doorway. Panic constricted my chest. "Who's there?" I demanded. "I'll call security." A bone-chilling chuckle emanated from the hall. I froze, suspended in terror. This was no nurse. The presence glided into my room, a shadowy blur at the edges. It hovered at the foot of my bed, slowly solidifying. Where its face should have been was only swirling darkness, a void where features should have been. I opened my mouth to scream, but only a choked gasp came out. No one was coming to help me. I was at the mercy of this sinister apparition that had invaded my room. "Let me in," it rasped. "Who are you?" I begged. "What do you want?" It drifted closer, the monitor spiking with my heart's frantic rhythm. Skeletal fingers wrapped around my ankle, gripping like icy vices. Panicked, I thrashed against its grasp, but I was too weak to break free. I could only stare, voiceless, as the swirling void loomed over me. "You're mine now," it hissed. The darkness closed in. My vision narrowed to a pinpoint, then went black. But just before consciousness left me, I heard it utter one final taunt. "You should never have come to this hospital." Its chilling laughter echoed, following me down into black oblivion. I jolted awake sometime later, head still pounding. Weak sunlight filtered through the blinds. Morning already? I glanced around warily. The presence from last night was gone. Had I imagined the whole encounter? Before I could ponder further, an orderly breezed in with breakfast. "Good morning," she chirped. "Eggs and toast today. Eat up." As she busied herself checking my vitals, I asked hesitantly if anyone had been to my room last night. She gave me a puzzled look. "Just the night nurse, for your scheduled meds." I nodded uneasily. It must have been a vivid dream then. I had to get out of this place. I picked at my food as the orderly prattled on about hospital gossip. Her inane chatter grated on my frayed nerves. At last she left, reminding me that physical therapy was soon. I dreaded the painful PT sessions, but anything was better than lying here, waiting for sleep and more feverish nightmares. After breakfast, an aide wheeled me down the long, sterile hallway to the recreation room. As we passed the nurses' station, I glimpsed the staff gathered around a gurney, whispering in somber tones. "What happened?" I asked. The aide's mouth twisted with unease. "One of our terminal patients died last night. Poor old Mr. Kaufman." A chill ran through me. Mr. Kaufman's room was next to mine. Had that really been a dream? At PT, I could barely focus, haunted by the memory of icy fingers grasping my ankle. The therapist scolded my lack of progress, but I was too rattled to care. After the grueling session, I asked to go back to my room. Once settled in bed, I pressed the call button requesting a sedative, but before a nurse could arrive, I drifted off again. I woke sometime later to the sound of shuffling footsteps outside my door. I tensed, listening intently. The shuffling continued, moving steadily towards my room. It was no orderly's purposeful stride. My mouth went dry. It was back. The footsteps halted outside my door. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying it would move on. No such luck. The door creaked open slowly. I clenched my fists, trying to control the tremors racking my body. Not again. I could not endure another visit from that sinister presence. A raspy voice emanated from the doorway. "Did you miss me?" My eyes shot open. Before me hovered the same swirling darkness, the same icy void. I trembled uncontrollably, wanting to flee but unable to move. It drifted closer, the heart monitor beeping wildly. "Leave me alone," I pleaded. "I'll do anything." A skeletal hand stroked my cheek. I cringed from its icy caress. "Anything?" It chuckled. "Then let me in fully." I shook my head frantically. "Please, I don't understand. Just go away." It leaned closer, an abyss where its face should have been. "Let me in, or I will take you tonight." I broke into a clammy sweat, mind reeling. Take me where? I couldn't hold out against this entity much longer. As it moved to embrace me, something snapped. With strength born of desperation, I ripped the IV from my arm and shoved past the shadowy figure. Stumbling into the hallway, I fled mindlessly, trailing blood from my IV site. Nurses shouted, giving chase, but I did not stop until I crashed through the stairwell door into blissfully empty stairs. I collapsed against the wall, chest heaving. Had I escaped? Nurses' footsteps echoed above and below me, but then a cold hand clenched my shoulder from behind. "You cannot escape what you invited in," the void hissed in my ear. As its inky darkness enfolded me, I screamed, a raw, primal sound that reverberated through the concrete stairwell. But just as abruptly, the presence released me. I sagged to the floor, dazed. The nurses surrounded me now, regarding me with uneasy pity. "Poor thing," one clucked. "The fevers made her delusional." As they led me away, I glanced back once more. Only empty stares greeted my eyes. But a faint, chilling laughter lingered in the shadows. This was not over. Ever since I was young, I had a fascination with old, abandoned buildings. The thrill of discovering forgotten histories, the adrenaline rush of the unknown, and the eerie silence always called out to me. My friend Jake shared this passion. We'd often spend weekends exploring dilapidated structures, sharing tales of our adventures over a cold beer later. One day, Jake excitedly showed me an old photograph he'd stumbled upon online. It was a black and white image of St. Mary's Hospital, standing tall and proud in its heyday. The photo's caption mentioned that the hospital was closed after a mysterious fire in the 70s, and rumors persisted that trapped souls still haunted its corridors. "We have to check it out," Jake said, his eyes shining with curiosity. A week later, we found ourselves standing before the ruins of St. Mary's. The once grand building now lay in decay, its windows boarded up and walls covered in graffiti. But even in its dilapidated state, the hospital exuded an imposing aura. Inside, we discovered a world frozen in time. Old medical charts littered the hallways, rusty beds lined the wards, and aged medical equipment lay scattered around. The air was thick with the scent of mold and mildew, and every so often a draft would send chills down our spines. As we delved deeper into the building, we stumbled upon the pediatric ward. Faded murals adorned the walls, depicting cheerful scenes that contrasted eerily with the present atmosphere. A lone teddy bear lay in the middle of the room, its fur matted and one eye missing. As Jake bent down to examine it, a soft giggle echoed through the air. We exchanged uneasy glances, our earlier bravado replaced by growing apprehension. Exploring further, we found an old operating theater. In its center stood an operating table, above which hung a rusted surgical light. Adjacent to the table, a journal lay open, its pages yellowed with age. As I leafed through it, a particular entry caught my attention. It was written by a nurse, detailing the strange occurrences in the hospital. Patients spoke of seeing apparitions, children claimed to play with invisible friends, and staff often heard unexplained noises. The entry ended with a chilling note. "I fear we're not alone here." Suddenly, the room grew cold, and a shadowy figure appeared in the doorway. Its form was indistinct, but its eyes shone with an unnatural light. Paralyzed with fear, we watched as it slowly approached, its movements echoing the pain and sorrow of a bygone era. Jake, gathering his wits, grabbed my arm and we fled, the specter's mournful wails echoing in our ears. We navigated the maze-like corridors, desperately searching for an exit. Behind us, the cries grew louder, joined by others, creating a haunting symphony of anguish. Finally, daylight appeared ahead, and we burst out of the hospital, our lungs gasping for fresh air. We didn't look back, the weight of the hospital's tragic past heavy on our minds. The experience forever changed us. We gave up urban exploration, realizing that some places, with their dark histories and trapped souls, should remain undisturbed. St. Mary's wasn't just an abandoned building. It was a repository of countless untold stories, each more tragic than the last. And sometimes it's best to let sleeping ghosts lie.